Hey guys, Stay Patient here and welcome to this week's trophy update. I'm feeling a little bit rough today. I've started recording this on Sunday mornings instead, and I always feel a little bit groggy in the morning, so I apologise for that. And I've got the curtains open, which I don't usually have. I like to keep them shut just to keep the lighting consistent. But it's really cloudy here in the UK today. It was quite sunny yesterday, so that's a bit odd. But I think that's going to keep the light at a consistent level, hopefully. I apologise if it does kind of go up and down a bit on the webcam. But yeah, we've got quite a lot to talk about this week, actually, even though it's only January and we don't really get a lot of games releasing this time of year. The first thing I wanted to mention is kind of unrelated, but it's just something cool that happened this week. I don't know if any of you guys watch the IGN Game Scoop show. It's like a weekly... just a weekly game show that they put out as a podcast and a video, just discusses all sorts of gaming subjects. They have, viewers write in with questions or comments or whatever, and they read out my email this week, which is kind of cool. So if you want to check that out, it was episode 421, which I think is the most recent one. I don't think there's been one since. And it was about 19 minutes into the video. I was actually asking them, it was kind of achievement related, not specifically trophies, but kind of associated with that. I was asking them about the Nintendo Switch, whether they thought it was a good idea that Nintendo start a brand new achievement system so that people who love trophies and achievements but weren't able to start on day one when Sony and Microsoft added them, it would give those people a chance to get in early and try and be one of the higher ranked accounts. Because by this point, obviously, with trophies, the people who've been trophy hunting for years and years since they started, and the people that haven't changed their account during that time, those are the people that are always going to be the higher level players, and it's going to be very difficult to catch them because they've been at it for a lot longer. And I just thought, it might be cool. Some people who aren't necessarily tied to one console family might enjoy the prospect of being able to be amongst those higher level accounts simply because they're able to start gaming on the Nintendo Switch as soon as it releases. Of course, the people who work at IGN aren't massive fans of trophies and achievements. They like them, but being games journalists, they don't really have a chance to spend that amount of time with the game. They have to play it with with a reviewer's cap on, if that makes sense, so that they're kind of checking it for how good the game is rather than trying to get absolutely everything out of it and earn all the trophies and stuff. So I just thought it was an interesting thought. I'd love to get your guys' opinion on that. If let me know, actually, if any of you are buying the Nintendo Switch. I would love to get one. I've never really been a Nintendo player. Back in the day when it was like the NES and the SNES or SNES, whatever you call it, I was very young, so I was playing what my brother happened to have, which was, first of all, the Spectrum, and then a Sega. It was like one of the Master Systems, so I never actually played Nintendo, really. My cousins had the N64, but it does look cool. I would like to get the Switch, but I just wouldn't have time to play it. But I'd love to hear if any of you guys are planning on picking one up. There was a few games, actually, I've got here noted down on my iPad. Oh, there's one thing I was going to ask you guys, actually, just before we get into it. I'm sorry, this is kind of unrelated. One thing that I've always sucked at is making thumbnails, at least in my opinion. So let me know what you think of the thumbnails on the channel, just out of interest, really. And if anyone makes thumbnails for a living and wants to help me out, let me know. But I think hopefully they're okay. I'm thinking primarily of, all the videos really, but I put one up yesterday, the first episode of How to Be a Trophy Hunter. And that's actually doing really well. And I think it's getting a lot of new viewers that aren't already subscribers, because it's received a lot of views within the first... it's only been, it's not even a day. It's just over 12 hours, really. Hang on, it's about 18 hours, and it's up at nearly 4,000 views. So that's awesome. But I want to sort of get your guys' opinions on my thumbnails, because if... obviously with new subscribers coming across my videos, hopefully the thumbnails grab their attention. But that's the one thing I'm really, really poor at, is image editing. I'm learning video editing, just through doing it. I'm not taking any course or anything, but just through doing it, I'm kind of picking things up, new things each week. But I haven't really looked into image editing. So let me know what you think of that. But thanks a lot for the support on that video, by the way. I was expecting, a lot of not exactly hate on it, but I was thinking people would just all be saying that they already knew it. Like, why was I telling them obvious stuff, you know? But a lot of people found it helpful. So hopefully as we get into more deep, complex stuff, techniques and that, it will be enjoyable for you guys. Now, there have been a few games over the last few weeks that I need to give you updates on. Because obviously, as we always mention, when games are added to PSN profiles, sometimes they're coming out imminently, like with Gravity Rush 2, the trophies were added, and then the game came out literally within a couple of days. But then other times, games have the trophies added a long time before the actual game is due to release. Sometimes it's weeks, maybe even months. So there are some of those types of games that we can go back and take a look at. I've got a list here. Let's just take a look through. Firstly, the first one to mention is Trove. Now, Trove is on here. There it is. Let's have a look at Trove. Now, as you can see, no one's earned any trophies from it. That's because it is kind of out, but it's in beta at the moment. So if you want to try it out without adding the trophies to your account, because obviously it's online only, you would need to play it on your account, or on a account at least. You can try it out now, and because the trophies can't be earned, I'm pretty much 100% sure on this. I mean, I doubt there's literally no one playing the beta. I mean, there are people playing it, and unless it's... No, it is on the go because you can download it. I'm pretty sure of this. The beta's on the go, but obviously you can't earn trophies from the beta, and that's why everything's at 0%. So if you want to try it out, get a feel for the game, and also earn some added extras for the main game when it does release in full, then check it out. It does actually look pretty cool. It's kind of like a Minecraft... take my hood off. It's kind of like a Minecraft or voxel-based kind of RPG, MMORPG type thing. What else was it we're going to look at? Stardew Valley. Let's take a look at that. Now, this is a game that looks really cool. Most of you are aware of it. We spoke about it a few weeks ago, but there wasn't really any feedback on it. So if we go to the forum here, the game is out now and people are starting to give feedback on the difficulty. And it looks as though there's basically like 1 or 2 trophies related to a mini game that are very difficult. And as you can see, people are voting 9s and 10s here. So unfortunately, it looks like a very tough platinum. Because of that one trophy, Journey of the Prairie King without dying. This is like a mini game, like an arcade mini game you play within the actual game. And, a lot of games do that. They have like an arcade style, tie-in game, a bit like on Day of the Tentacle, you could go back and play. Or, on the arcade machine, you could play, what was it called? Maniac Mansion or Maniac Mansion. But yeah, it looks very tough. You have to beat the whole thing without dying. It's basically like a kind of... Oh, stomach's rumbling already. It's like an 8 or 16-bit top-down kind of shooter, twin-stick shooter type thing. So that's going to be very tough. And it's very long as well. The estimated time to platinum is over 100 hours, basically everyone. So props to you if you have that platinum. Very well done. Let us know in the comments if you have, because there's not going to be many people that have earned it. In fact, we can check on here. Here we go. 12% average completion, 0.29% platinum completion. Let's have a look, actually. I wonder if any of our subs are on here. Not that I know of. But well done to these 12 guys. Or girls, sorry. I used guys as a term for everyone, don't worry. I don't mean guys as such. I just mean people. Anyway. So what else have we got to update on? There was a game that came out a while ago now, and it kind of came out just before I started doing the top 10 videos. And it never really made it onto one because there wasn't much feedback on it at the time, and it's kind of been swept under the rug in my mind. I apologise if the typing is very loud. Okay, it actually looks pretty easy. Well, very easy. It's a 2 out of 10. This is a game... In fact, let's check out a trailer for it. Alright, here we are. Valley trailer PS4. So we've got the first look trailer 9 months ago, gameplay trailer, and then the launch trailer. We'll watch the launch trailer because it's a bit shorter. And this was 5 months ago. So that's, it came out about 5 months ago, which sounds about right. This is basically almost like a jumping sim. You've got this kind of power suit on, and you're going through quite kind of... Quite sort of jungle style environments, quite rural, wild, I should say, environments, caves and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a lot of fast moving. I mean, it looks slow here because they're just scanning through the actual locations, but the actual gameplay itself is very fast moving. And as you saw from the trophy guide, it's given a 2 out of 10 in difficulty. And it can take a while because there's collectibles, and I think the areas are quite large. So if you're looking for the collectibles yourself, here we go, here's some actual gameplay. Then it would take a while. But if there's a guide you can follow that tells you where the collectibles are, then that obviously makes it much quicker. And you can, in theory, complete it in around 3 hours. Now, I'm considering the possibility of making a video guide for it. I'm not sure how popular it would be because it's 5 months old now, and it's not one of those games that loads of people are going to play unless it becomes free on PlayStation Plus at some point, of course. But it looks kind of interesting. Yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up because obviously it is another easy plat that we haven't really discussed before. As you can see here, 3 to 10 hours if you know where everything is and you just speed run through it all, and then 10 to 20 if you're following a guide or video walkthrough for everything. So it seems as if it is going to be a bit longer. For instance, if I was to put a guide together, then it might take you longer because you're watching the guide and you're figuring everything out. But the only way it would be 3 hours is if you know beforehand where everything is. You don't have to watch a video and you can just fly through it. But I mean, if that's the case, surely if a video was 3 hours long showing everything, then technically you could finish it in 6 hours watching the video and playing the game. But yeah, I mean, it's somewhere between 3 and 20 hours. Blaze always does great guides, so I'm sure this will be very helpful. So that's another game that you might want to try out. I think it's only like $15.99 on the store, and it's kind of a fully fledged title. I don't think it's really considered to be... I mean, I think it is an indie title, but it's not your typical indie game. It's not like 2D or anything like that. It seemed like almost like a AAA level game. But I suppose then again, it could be along the lines of like Adam's Venture, where it looks better than it is. Anyway, the other game we're going to look at, or one of the other ones, is one that I'm really happy to say is an easy platinum. That game is Ark Survival Evolved. Now, this is another one we discussed fairly recently. It's quite a recent release, look. Only last month it came out. Although that's nearly 2 months ago. Wow, time flies, man. I think this series is actually 6 months old now, which is pretty cool. Anyway, I was expecting this to be quite long. This is the dinosaur game. We watched the trailer of it in a previous episode, so we won't watch it again now. But it's the game where you're trying to survive on a planet that's filled with dinosaurs. You can play it offline on your own, or you can play online as a MMO style game, and you can either fight against or help other players. Now, there was... I did read somewhere actually that the trophies will kind of glitch and they tend to pop at random times. I think it might have been on one of these threads here. There's no comments on the estimated time. So yeah, as you can see, the difficulty 1, 3 looks very simple. And Maisie here asked, is anyone working on a trophy guide for the game? And Toto, no point, all trophies are glitched as hell and pop at random. So there is actually a trophy guide for this, but it's not been stickied yet. But it sounds as if, unless they've patched it by now, it sounds as if maybe it's easy because some of the trophies just pop when you don't even need to fulfill the requirements. But whatever the case may be, he's given it a 3 out of 10. Maybe that's based on the difficulty rating. And he says it's about 5 to 10 hours completion. That's his personal opinion. So I'm not sure. I haven't read through all this, and I'm not sure if he mentions anything about trophies glitching. Yeah, most of the trophies for this game have been reported as being very buggy. Let's see here. Note about trophy glitches. Most of the trophies for this game have been reported as being very buggy, and the only confirmed fix at the moment is to delete everything and start again with a fresh install and new save. Okay, yeah, that sounds a bit... There are actually some serious issues with getting trophies to pop in this game. Yeah, okay, so maybe I won't recommend this to you, trophy hunters. But it does look like if they do fix the trophies, maybe it will be easy. But then again, maybe those people who have voted for the difficulty found it easy because the trophies pop for them without, having to actually earn them. So I think maybe we'll have to wait and see on this one. I hadn't done all the research before recording today. So it's quite interesting seeing, waiting and seeing, how that actually plays out, I suppose. There's another game called Yesterday Origins, which, what's her name? The Mind is a City. She's one of the guide team members here at PlayStationTrophies.org. And she mentioned this game to me recently and said it is an easy plat, but it's been glitched since a release several months ago. And she sort of had a guide ready to go, but she hadn't uploaded it yet because the trophies were impossible to earn because of the glitches. Well, it has been patched now, and she's got her guide up. So if we find it here we go. Yesterday Origins, she's got a guide and also a walkthrough. They're very helpful. I use them on occasion to make the video guides that I put together. Some of those video guides I figure out for myself. Some of them I follow, like actual existing walkthroughs. And obviously I have to play the game through several times to try and commit it all to memory because I don't want to be following the walkthrough and pausing on the game every 2 seconds while I follow the steps. But here, in fact, this is the walkthrough. Obviously, this is like, walkthroughs you may have followed in the past. This is kind of another point-and-click adventure. It looks slightly different. It's more like I don't know. We're not going to watch a trailer for it because I'll leave you to watch the trailer in your own time if you like. We've got quite a lot to cover today. But as you can see, it's a 2 out of 10 difficulty. It does take between 5 and 10 hours according to The Mind is a City. But she makes very good guides. And so, yeah, maybe check this out. The only downside is it's very expensive. For a game like this, on the UK store, it's £35. Yeah, £35, which is insane. And that would probably translate to like maybe $40 on the US store. So, I definitely recommend waiting for a price drop on this. It might be a really good game, but if you're playing it just for the trophies, I do recommend obviously getting it for cheaper if it does get put on sale at some point. I certainly won't be buying it for £35. I don't think. I mean, I may end up giving in. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. But another easy plat, hopefully, that will be reduced at some point. The other game that I was going to update you on, I've actually got my PS4 open here because I had a message yesterday from someone with a bit of an update on that Operation 7 Revolution, I think it was called, last week. Let's just find it here. Yeah, Operation 7 Revolution. Now, if you remember, this was the game that I mentioned looks exactly like COD, but like a indie version, like a dumbed down version, but it actually looks kind of solid, almost like a bit like Counter-Strike in the sense that the graphics aren't amazing, but the mechanics look solid and it looks like a good play. I had noticed it. It showed up because I was Googling it and I couldn't find really any information on it. And I noticed it had shown up on the Malaysian PlayStation Store. Whenever I searched for like PlayStation Store Operation 7, the Malaysian store showed up. And one of our subs here, who was it? Here we are. Nitro X, if you're watching this, thank you very much for the update. He's obviously had a chance to do a bit more research on it, or at least maybe stumble across this information. He says it's a free-to-play game, which I was pretty sure of last week. I think I put an annotation on the screen saying that I'd forgotten to mention it was free-to-play. So those of you listening, I forget, sorry, sometimes I put annotations on the screen. I know some of you download the episode and listen to it almost like a podcast. But yeah, it is a free-to-play game, but you can only get it on Asian stores at the moment. So I'm guessing, well, he says, for example, I Googled it and it directed me to the Thailand store and the Hong Kong store. Now, I have a Hong Kong account. It's what I use to buy sound shapes and IC, Chinese game IC. It's pretty cool, that, actually. He says there's no private matches. You can set passwords on your matches, a bit like on Battlefield, I suppose, or at least some of the older Battlefields, and get trophies that way. So it looks like you are going to be able to boost it quite easily, but most of you won't have access to it unless you've got multiple regional accounts, which I know some of you will have. I've got quite a few different accounts from different countries, but hopefully, I'm guessing you'll be able to play it in this country. You won't need to sort of be on an IP address that's from that region. That never usually is the case. So you should be able to pick up a copy from the Chinese or the Thailand or Hong Kong store, any of the stores around there, and play it and plat it. It looks like it might be a bit long-winded, but very easy. Most of the trophies are just do a certain type of kill a number of times. Win to explode a bomb in demolition mode 30 times. I'm surprised no one's got that yet. Maybe that's glitched. That could be a bad sign, because that seems to me like a trophy that people would earn, you know? Anyway, let's move on to this week's games, because that's what you've all tuned in for. We've actually had 8 more games added since I last checked the site. I was researching last night, Saturday night. A big weekend for me, as usual. But none of these most recent 8 games were up, so we're actually going to leave them all together, because there's several games that I want to mention, and we've already been going for a while here. Now, let's have a look. So we got up to Operation 7, Yakuza we looked at last week. I think there might actually be, I forgot to look for this last week, but there is, I think, a guide for Yakuza 0, because it's been out in Japan for a while. So obviously, I think the requirements are going to be the same. There might be some translation that's needed, but I don't think so. Let's just have a look here. Yakuza 0, it's not stickered yet as far as I know. Oh, you know what? I've just noticed something. Nitro sent me a second message that I did read it earlier, but I forgot to mention it a second ago. This is regarding Operation 7. That trophy we were looking at that does have 0% completion, that is glitched apparently. He says, however, the nature of the Destroyer trophy is glitched and unobtainable as of the day of writing this message. I'll update you if a patch is given soon, hopefully before your next weekly update, but probably not, yeah. That's good of you, man. Yeah, if you're watching this, that would be awesome. If you do hear of a patch, that would be great to hear about. So that is glitched at the moment. I'd avoid that game, which most of you will be anyway, because it's Asia only. But this is the trophy guide. So obviously, Yakuza 0 has only just come out, and usually when games first release, it takes a while for a guide to be put together, unless that game's been out in Japan for a while, in which case quite often there will be a guide that someone who's played the Japanese version has put up, and they've done the translation themselves. Maybe they speak Japanese, and they've put a guide together for us to use over here in the West, which is very good. This is, I'm not sure how he wants me to pronounce that, but Kerberos, I guess. Fairly new to the forum, so that's cool of him to put a guide together for us. He's not given it a difficulty, but it is very long by the looks of it. If we take a look at the voting thread, you'll notice here that it is given quite a high difficulty, probably an average of 7. Well, yeah, that is an exact average of 7, isn't it, if you take all those into account? I think. Anyway, so 7 out of 10 roughly. There's obviously, with the Yakuza games, even if the game itself is straightforward, quite often there's a lot of like mini games, you know, karaoke, and I think maybe dancing stuff, all sorts of mini games and extra little bits of content that could potentially be quite hard. And you do need to finish it, I think, on the hardest difficulty as well, which might be a challenge too. So that's probably where the difficulty comes from. And as you could see there, it's pretty much unanimously over 100 hours completion time. No one's left any comments on these, but there is a bit of voting to go on. Now we're going to close down some of these windows because it's going to start getting a bit jammed. Otherwise it might... Oh, have we got a video showing here? Crumbs, we had a video showing. Sorry about that. Hopefully it hasn't affected. Sometimes if I've got too much stuff running, it affects the webcam footage and corrupts it and stuff. Anyway, where do we get to? Let's have a look here. That was Yakuza we spoke about last week. Enigmatis we spoke about. This was one of the hidden item games from the same developer as Clockwork Tales of Glass and Ink. And, oh crumbs, the pirate one, I always forget the name of it. I forgot it last week and looked it up, but I'm not going to do the same again. Nightmares from the Deep, that was it. Tales, or Nightmares from the Deep, The Black Heart, something like that. But yeah, it is as easy as I said it was going to be. Everyone knew it was going to be straightforward. 74% average completion, 57% platinum completion, and can be done in an hour and a half, maybe quicker, because people are still figuring out the puzzles and everything. But as soon as there's a guide, as soon as there's a sort of step-by-step guide, this will become nice and easy. I don't think I'm going to put together a video guide for this. There's our friend Ghosty from the channel. Yeah, we always see a few of you guys up here sometimes. Anyway, yeah, like I say, I don't think I'm going to do a guide for this. There is a specific reason for that, which I won't bore you with. It's nothing to do with the difficulty of the game or anything like that. Obviously, it's dead simple, but there is a specific reason that I don't even think I'll be playing it myself, even though it is an easy platinum. So I apologise if you're expecting a guide from me, but I'm sure there'll be one that you can find that's just as easy to follow, even if it doesn't have commentary or maybe like a text guide on PlayStationTrophies.org or something. Let's head back though and get on to this week's games. Enigmatis. We got Resident Evil 7 out. This is another game I won't be playing myself, so I'm not a Resident Evil player, so I won't really be able to give you any insights on the trophies, but I know a lot of you will be playing it. Obviously, if you're going to play it, you're going to play it. You know, it's one of those games, isn't it? You're either a fan or you're not. Let's have a look, actually. I'm quite curious to see if this... Yes, it does have DLC. I was going to say it has slightly more points than a Platinum usually has at 1,320. So, yeah, that was because of a very small amount of DLC at the end. Okay, now, as I keep saying each week, there seems to be games that are added sort of partway down the list, because when I looked yesterday, Chime Sharp was not on the list. But I'll take a note of that after I finish the show and have a look back, you know, when people have played it. I don't know anything about it, and usually I would take a look and we'd watch the trailer and everything, but there are some other games I want to get to first, really. So we've got, where are we? Pineview Drive looks kind of cool. There's no platinum to it, but it's one of those like walking sims with an interesting story. The new game, I think this is Asia. I think this is an Asian game, yeah. All the trophies are in, well, yeah, it's an anime game, look. New game, the challenge stage. It actually sounds like a party game, you know? Sounds like one of those kind of, I forget the name of them, to be honest. Game, I don't know. There's all those kind of party games from the PS3 era. And it kind of sounds like one of those that are usually quite easy, but it's actually an anime, you know, Japanese anime game. What were the games I was going to say? Paladins. Now, this is quite interesting. We're going to watch a trailer for this. Okay, here we are on YouTube. Paladins trailer. All Paladins launch trailers. Let's just check out the open beta trailer, because I think it's it was in beta a few months ago. Or no, it actually might have been in beta. We're going to look at an article about this in a minute, because it's actually quite interesting. Because as you're watching this, you're probably thinking, well, you are thinking Overwatch. If you played Overwatch, I mean, look at this. That's Roadhog, right? That is Roadhog. Now, when, like a while ago, there was a game knocking around in China, which was an absolute blatant Overwatch ripoff. I think it was on sort of iOS and things like that. But it was literally every single character was designed exactly the same as Overwatch, and all the moves and everything. It was literally a clone of Overwatch, but a really poor quality one. Now, watching this, you may be thinking the same. Like, all the characters, although they don't necessarily look the same, there are a lot of similar abilities. You had the guy with the shield, you had the guy with the, you know, Roadhog style with the chain, everything. You had someone floating around in the air, and all these different characters. And you may be thinking, what the hell? How can they copy a game so blatantly? But it's very interesting to take a look at... close this down. Take a look at this article here. Because Paladins is actually a game that I think it's the game I'm thinking of. There was a game I was really interested in a long time ago. I think it was Paladins, because I think the visual style has changed since then. But it was like you know, an indie but very high quality looking game, you know, hero shooter style game. And I think it was this. Now, that was quite a while ago, before Overwatch came out. So I'm just going to scan through this quickly. It says, Paladins game developer Hi-Res COO Todd Harris published a post on Reddit that revealed a detailed timeline of the game's development. Because obviously a lot of people have been saying, you're copying Overwatch. Harris responded to claims that Paladins is a knockoff of Blizzard's hero shooter game Overwatch. According to Hi-Rez, Paladins may have been more inspired by Team Fortress 2 rather than Overwatch. Now, Overwatch was obviously very influenced by Team Fortress 2 as well. So rather than one copying the other, they've both sort of taken their inspiration from the same source, which is fair enough. Paladins was not inspired... not sure what's going on there. Paladins was not inspired by Overwatch, Harris told IGN. The characters in the game who may resemble the Overwatch characters have been available and playable in the Paladins beta even before similar character abilities were seen in Blizzard's game. A video was spotted online showing off the similarities between Paladins and Overwatch. The video had 2.7 million views. However, it should be noted that the closed beta for Paladins began in November 2015, while the Overwatch closed beta began in October 2015. So there's literally 2 months between the two betas becoming playable, so they can't possibly have copied it. In fact, as they said, the Paladins characters were already in place before before Blizzard even revealed their Overwatch character abilities. So I thought this was quite interesting. It talks about... these guys, Hi-Rez, the guys that are making Paladins, they also made Smite, which is on PS4, and some of you may have played it. So if you've enjoyed Smite, then this is another game from those same developers. It says something about a game that... where are we? Yeah, here it is. It says Paladins is said to lean more on Team Fortress 2. A Team Fortress 2 inspired class-based shooter called Global Agenda, which I had never heard of. Some of you guys may have played it, but let me know if you have, if it was any good. But this Team Fortress 2 inspired shooter, Global Agenda, was released in 2010. Paladins was created as a fantasy version of Global Agenda, and of the 85 combat abilities in the Paladins game. And of the abilities, right? So it's kind of taking its source material from Global Agenda, which was inspired by Team Fortress 2. So when you see this and when you hear people, having a big go at it for copying Overwatch, and you see videos talking about it, you can be a bit more in the know and you can, say to them, whoa, hang on, these characters were actually in existence before... I don't know why I'm scrolling down there. I don't think there's any more information. But yeah, they were in existence before the Overwatch character abilities were announced. And with that in mind, it might actually end up being quite a cool game. We watched the trailer, didn't we? Yeah, like I said, it does look very similar to Overwatch, but I think they've probably both taken abilities from that Global Agenda game, or maybe from Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress is a series I don't really spend much time with back in the day. But let's have a look here. There are no glitch trophies by the look of it, because people have earned, all of them. And it's not a huge long list either. Now, a lot of them are kind of generic trophies rather than character specific. Obviously on Overwatch you had a lot of character trophies that were really difficult to earn. But on here, a lot of it is stuff that you could technically do with any character in the game. Now, it doesn't necessarily look easy, but it doesn't look too bad either. Oh yeah, some of them do look tricky, to be fair. I think it probably leans heavily on, or depends heavily on, whether you can boost. If this is a game that you can boost, if you can set up a private match or manipulate things so you can get into a game with your friends, then you could knock these trophies out super, super quick. And it might be that that's a possibility, because if you look at those who've platted it, someone's done it in 3 hours. Now, I might actually message this guy. Usually I would have already done it. I didn't think to do it this week, but if I check with him, I'll let you know next week, or maybe even put an annotation on the video. It'd be interesting to know how he went about earning it so quickly. Maybe he's a tester for the game. Maybe like they did it in the development environment. He was the first to get it. It was a couple of days before anyone else. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that's happened, because it might be that he's figured out a way of boosting and he earned them all that way. But it looks kind of fun. If you enjoyed Overwatch, then you're very likely to enjoy this. I mean, it's not as, it's not as AAA, it's not as well tuned and as polished, I suppose. But look at this. I mean, although it's a different weapon, that's blatantly Tracer. This is Reaper. He's got similar guns. It's crazy, really. Like, the fact that it wasn't directly inspired by Overwatch, but it is so similar, is kind of odd. Anyway, there you go. It might be fun. Where are we? Yeah, we've got Final Fantasy 12 releasing. I don't think it's out yet. Let me just check. Due for release on the 3rd of the 3rd. Okay, this isn't out yet. It's going to be at least a month away, and that might not actually be a finalised date. But this is one of the Final Fantasy games that I never played, so I'm actually really excited to try this out. I didn't know that it was coming along. I didn't know this was even planned, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that, because I think Final Fantasy 12 is one of the more beloved Final Fantasy games. I really enjoyed 10, so hopefully that will be right up my street. Now, here's a game that I'm thoroughly going to recommend to you guys. You'll remember, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about Danganronpa. And I explained, the story and everything, awesome stories, the double pack of the two Vita games is coming out on PS4, and I thoroughly recommend you play it on Vita or PS4. And there's a very similar double pack added to PSN profiles this week. Now, the game I'm referring to is Zero Escape, the Nonary games. Now, Zero Escape, if we just click on it here, Zero Escape is a series that came out originally on DS and iOS, I think. The first one was called 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors, or 999 for short. That never came out on the PlayStation console. It was only DS and iOS. Nintendo DS, obviously. And the next one, the follow-up, Virtue's Last Reward, came out on DS as well, but also PS Vita. And it was brilliant. It was really, really good. Basically the structure of the game is that, at least with Virtue's Last Reward, you're trapped in this kind of big warehouse, and you have to solve rooms. You have to escape from rooms, and then you take the items that you get when you escape, and you use them to, you go into these elevators, and basically you're paired up with someone else, and you have to choose whether to ally with them or betray them. Now, if you both ally with each other, you both get a small number of points towards your, you have a watch on, it keeps track of your points. If you both betray each other, I believe you both, you lose a lower number of points. Or no, you don't lose or gain anything, I think. It's been a while since I played it, but if you both betray each other, you both stay the same. But if one of you allies and the other one betrays, the person who betrays gets a lot more points. Now, the point system is basically basically decides whether you live or die, pretty much. I mean, if you lose all your points, you start off at 9, I think. If you lose them all, then your watch kills you. If you get to a certain number, then you get to escape. And so it's really tense, because as you're playing through the game, you have to decide whether to ally or betray. And depending on what you choose, there's always a preset choice for the other person. But the way it's structured is that there are 25 different endings, but none of them are the real ending. You need to finish all 25 endings to see the actual ending, and it's there's a big twist, and it kind of is quite complex, quite difficult to understand the story by the end. But you need to go through all the different routes, and you've got a chart that shows all the routes that you've taken, and you'll go back to a previous point in time, choose a different room to solve, or maybe choose ally instead of betray this time, and eventually you'll see every eventuality. It's almost like seeing every possible outcome depending on the choices you make, until it comes around to showing you the actual ending. Now, it's just really tense and really cool, because each ending ends on a cliffhanger. It's amazing, and some of them you can't actually see the final ending until you find some information or find a code from a different ending, from a different time period. And it's really interesting how it develops and unfolds the story. As you go back in time, you don't have the memory of the other endings that have happened, but you start kind of having flashbacks of things that have taken place, and seeing the reaction of the characters when you choose to betray someone and they ally with you. So they lose loads of points and you gain some, and you feel really bad, or your character feels really bad, because quite often when someone betrays someone, it's to protect themselves, because they assume the other person's going to betray them. So they do it as well, so that neither of them loses points. But then the other person is actually doing the right thing and allying, so you end up being the bad guy. It's just really cool. The story is really awesome. It's up there with Danganronpa. And the twists in it, because there are so many endings, there are loads of like cliffhangers, loads of twists, and literally had me on the edge of my seat on so many occasions. And I thoroughly recommend buying this series. I mean, you can get it on Vita. It was actually free. It was free on PlayStation Vita a couple of years ago now, I think back in 2014. And it was so good. So if you've downloaded it but not played it, I do recommend trying it out. And I'm really excited at the fact that 999 is now on a PlayStation console as well. Trophy wise, it's super easy. You can follow a guide for each of the rooms, dead easy. Try and solve them yourself, but you do need to find like a hidden item in each room as well, so you will need to go back if you missed that the first time around. But literally, it's just a case of seeing all the endings, and the rest of it's literally just kind of reading dialogue, making choices. It's very, very easy, but it is quite long-winded. It's, if you read all the dialogue, which you really want to do because the story's so good, it will take you quite a bit of time to complete, maybe 50 hours. But yeah, it's totally worth it, guys. I'm really excited to have this on PS4. In fact, there was another Zero Escape. It was called Zero Time Dilemma. That came out on Vita a couple of months ago, and I've not tried that yet, but I really want to play that as well. I'm guessing that the 999 trophies are probably very similar to the Virtue's Last Reward ones as well, probably very easy too. This VR ping pong game looks kind of interesting. I might try this out because I've got the VR headset. Obviously not many of you will have yet, but it's all gold trophies. It does have a platinum, and depending on how hard the actual game is, and depending on how good you are at ping pong or table tennis, and also depending on how good the kind of sensitivity of the move controller is. If it's not very good, then it would be a very hard game to play. But literally all you need to do is get a certain amount of points in practice mode, which I'm guessing probably needs to be done in one sitting or like one game or rally. But I don't know, practice mode would just be free play, wouldn't it? So maybe it's just a case of playing it for a while. You are the boss. This is just winning the cup. So that might be the trophy that could be difficult depending on how hard the AI players are. And then you've got 200 changes in wall mode. This could be tricky as well. That's when you're playing against the wall, and I'm not sure what changes means. That might be one rally. Just keep it going for 200 rallies. It might be that you have to change sides because there's like two sides to the table. Maybe you have to play back and forward from one side to the other 200 times, but who knows? And then win one set 11-0. Now I wonder if you can do multiplayer, but obviously the thing is you need 2 VR headsets, wouldn't you? So yeah, that might be a case of having to play against the AI. So I think, depending on how hard the AI is, this could be an easy plat. But I think it's probably likely to be hard. It is one of those trophy sets that will probably be very quick if you're good enough at the game. Because there's not a lot involved here. Killer view, I love that. I've seen someone playing it. It's very like pixelated. It's almost like voxel art style, like Minecraft style almost. And all the people in the crowd all look the same. They're just blocks basically. So you just have to smack the ball at one of them and kill them, I suppose. Quite a cool trophy. But yeah, let's head back. Like I say, it could be tricky, could be easy depending on the AI, but it's probably going to be very quick as long as you're skillful enough. Subtrain actually looks kind of cool. Let's check out a trailer for that. This is kind of this is like a survival type game. Is this the launch trailer? Yeah. Oh man. Right, so this explains everything in the trailer. Mars colony, you're the last survivor. It's basically, I'll let the trailer speak for itself really. Exploring, it's like crafting and stuff, scavenge. There's a lot. I've seen someone's review of it, like one of the small YouTubers reviewed it, research. They said they really enjoyed it, but it is very heavy on the inventory management. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, then avoid it. Crafting. So you're basically exploring the area, killing enemies, finding items, researching new things that you can create, crafting stuff, building up your base, and just doing a loop like that, sleeping through the night, making sure, I think you need to find food and stuff like that to keep yourself alive. But it looks kind of interesting, and it's the kind of game that I know at least a few of you subscribers are into, this kind of, heavy survival type, genre. I know a lot of you have spoken about other games you've enjoyed, so I think this will be right up some of your streets. Some of your streets, does that make sense? Some of you won't enjoy it, obviously. I know a lot of people don't enjoy games that are slow moving on occasion when you need to go into your inventory and just spend time in menus and stuff like that. I enjoy that side of gaming, but not everyone does. But it looks kind of cool. What's this next game? Oh, never mind. I'm getting distracted. Trophy wise, I haven't really looked through properly. Trophy wise, kill 50 enemies in a single game. Apart from the small bugs, is it a long trophy list? Yeah, it is. I'm going to kind of leave you guys to take a look because I think this show is going to be relatively long already. And it's because it's not the kind of game that's going to appeal to everyone. I'm not going to bore those of you who aren't interested in it by looking through all of the trophies. But there is a nightmare mode difficulty here, so it could be a tough platinum to earn. Yeah, that could be a toughie, but we'll have to see, won't we? The other game I was going to look at is Sniper Elite 4. This is a series that I'm actually surprised but very happy is still going. Sniper Elite V2, I think it was called. That was on PS3, and it was really good. You know, it's a shooter, but it's very different to your typical military shooter. A lot of you will have played it, and you'll know all this, but it's very kind of... I mean, it's a sniper game, but you've got games like Ghost Warrior, you know, Sniper Ghost Warrior, which is an Activision game, which is very much like a typical Call of Duty, really, just with sniper rifles. And, I mean, COD's got sniping, but this is like proper sniping, you know? It's really having to take into account... you know, bullet drop and wind strength and direction, all that kind of stuff. Even is it called the Coriolis effect, where the bullet kind of swerves in midair, or stuff like that. It's really cool. It's not, again, not for everyone. The actual basic gameplay, you know, when you're using other weapons, is always a little bit clunky, but they do that deliberately, I think, to kind of emphasize the need to snipe because you're trained as a sniper. If we take a quick look, actually, there's a trailer here I watched earlier. Let's check out the gameplay trailer. Now, I seem to remember this having a lot of emphasis on, you know, more close quarters combat, which is very strange because it's not the game's strong suit. The sniping is very cool and it's well done. Everything else is very deliberate. You have to know what you need to do. It's not like a run and gun game. You have to know, like, right, I'm going to use this weapon to take this guy out. I need to get myself in position. But this could be really cool. I tried to play Sniper Elite 3, which was quite a recent release, a year or two ago. And I actually planned a weekend with a friend of mine who came to stay. And we tried to get into a match together. We spent hours trying to play together, and it just wouldn't let us join a match. You know, we wanted to play co-op, because you have to do a co-op campaign to be able to earn all the trophies. And we just couldn't connect. And I got to the point where I was so annoyed. I actually tried to... one thing about this game, yeah, it does the X-ray, like, shots, and even does that with more close quarter stuff, like explosions and stuff. It's quite cool. But... yeah, I tried to contact Sony and ask for a refund, not because of the money, but, you know, out of the principle of it. I was like, look, you know, I've bought this game. You're supposed to be able to play online. There's a trophy for doing a co-op campaign, and we can't even get into a match together, you know, in the menus. We were literally just in the menus. We were both on the same IP address trying to join, you know, before even starting the game, and it just wouldn't let us. And then we did get in a couple of times, but it kicked us out pretty much straight away. So... in my mind, the platinum was impossible. And I had a bit, you know, I contacted Sony and said, look, I just want a refund for this. It just simply doesn't work. I didn't chase it too much. They didn't want to give me a refund, and I didn't make a big deal out of it because I just didn't have the time, and I wasn't really bothered about the money necessarily, but I just wanted to make a point that you need to put games out that work, you know? So many games come out these days that just don't work. So hopefully this doesn't have the same problem. Now, I don't think there's a trophy for doing a co-op campaign, but there is one. We've got all the mission-related ones here. Overwatch stuff. I think that's just like side content. Mastering weapons, which is pretty cool, like using the same weapons. You need to master one of each. I think a pistol, a rifle, and like a automatic weapon or something. Getting a bunch of kills. A lot of it's just stuff that will come naturally, but there are some that could be tricky. So we've got to complete the entire campaign on authentic difficulty. Now, actually, you know what? I think maybe Sniper Elite 3 didn't have a trophy for having to complete it on co-op, but they recommended you play on co-op because it made the authentic difficulty, which is very hard, a little bit easier because you could revive each other. That was why it was. I don't think there are actually any online or like co-op online trophies. There are sometimes online modes. We'll have a look and see if there are on this game in a second. Probably at the bottom of the list. Incapacitate an enemy, then shoot them in the testicles. There's lots of like fun little trophies like that. But there were some other, there was things like completing, where are they? Yeah, complete all secondary objectives in the main campaign. So I think the difficulty of this platinum will really depend on how hard authentic difficulty is, which is likely to be quite tricky. Sniper Elite V2 wasn't too difficult, but V3 was quite tricky. It was a tough one. So it really depends where it sits on that difficulty scale. Then we've got, the secondary objectives. It's got more here. Look, complete all Mother Hen secondary mission. Oh, secondary missions. And there's also like challenges. You have to complete all the challenges in a particular mission, or one mission at least. Can't see where that is. A lot of them look fairly straightforward, but there will probably be a few that are quite tricky. Reach character rank 50. I guess that's just playing. I don't think that's online. No, I'm pretty sure that's single player. There is online, sorry. Complete at least one match in each mode. So maybe that is an online trophy. That would be a bit annoying if you do have to level up loads online. Although it might be fun, it might be fun doing a pretty much sniper only online match. Okay, complete the entire main campaign on authentic difficulty with no manual saves. Now, I wonder if it does autosave. I don't know. Some of you might be able to answer that question for me. But that seems like that's going to be the trophy. Most games have a trophy that's going to be the one that kind of separates the men from the boys, as it were. It does either come with the DLC or there's DLC available. And pretty much all of these trophies in the DLC involve killing Hitler in a certain way, which is kind of funny. Anyway, that looks kind of fun. Looks like a good game. Hopefully it is. There we have it, guys. There's a few games that we've kind of skipped over, but it's been probably about an hour by now. So I want to say thank you very much for watching, guys, as usual. This series is starting to get more views each week. I think last week's got about 2,500, whereas before we were usually topping out at about 1,000, so that's pretty cool. It's nice to see some new people enjoying the series and, some of the new subs getting involved and everything. So thank you very much for your ongoing support, guys. Hopefully this has been enjoyable. It's been a bit of a mishmash of an episode, lots of different little bits and pieces here and there. But thanks again, guys. And hopefully I'll catch you very soon for whatever my next video happens to be. Have a good one. Cheers.